Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All right,
No
all right,
video.
all right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world.
You hear me?
Young man? Oh, good. You've got baseball cards in your hand, or cards in your hand.
Yeah.
That's
Where's
good.
my video?
No, your video's here. I didn't see you.
Oh. Well, I usually have the same size as you.
What? Why, you're not the same size as me?
No, usually
Do you want me to move back? Like, am I too
usually-
large,
no,
too
that's-
small, or?
fuck, I don't know. It's my system. It's me. I don't know how to do fun cool anyway. I don't know how to do this. Whatever the case. As long as you can hear me, I got my hockey cards in my hand.
Yeah.
Looking at some.
Fardad's about
see
to
if I see
join
anything
us.
from Rating. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. See, it's funny. So, who's on tonight? Fardad.
Fardad's on. I know.
Right
I was
away.
like, oh, look, Fardad's coming back.
It's like the soft spot. Yeah, Amelia loves Fardad.
I
Always
think
likes to have him on. So we may get. You know what? We may pick up a download this week because Amelia might listen to it. Right?
you guys can't see this.
Doesn't listen to anybody else.
Fardad's got like headphones in and a phone on. I think he's typing on a laptop.
I'm actually just about to start an interview with a podcast, so I'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, thanks.
You're live,
Bye.
by the way.
Oh my God, you're not going to believe what that was about. So that's my production manager calling, for real.
Oh no!
And there's a leak in one of our kettles, and so I know. Well, you know what? It's just been one of those crazy weeks, and so anyway, we're
like, seriously, do you need to talk to? Do you want to go?
No. You know what? It's totally okay. I knew I was actually in a meeting where this afternoon at 4:30 when we were reviewing some software and because we were trying to make like a major ERP change, which I'll get into probably slightly in a bit. But
yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they're amazing. And then so like in the middle of it, in the middle of the meeting, my production manager runs out and he's like, my tests of the batches is not looking good, and he brings a sample, and then he's like, there's some oil in the product, so we're like, okay, stop production. Like, and then, but I mean, whatever, it's like 8:00 and he's still on the production line trying to figure out what's up, but he figured out what the issue is. There's repair people coming tomorrow, and you know what, the positive news is we know what the problem is. So that's
life,
that's positive. No, totally. And my wonderful
that's
mother-in-law who's here with me, she was like, oh God, you got so much different things going on. And I always go, if there wasn't any problems, then there wouldn't be a need for me, or there wouldn't be very much work to do. So
exactly. Anyway,
and you know what? I've got good people. So
yeah,
good people
thank God. I was
me.
going to say, right? You got good people. Like that guy. Your production guy stayed, right? Like he could have gone.
Yeah, no, totally, exactly. And the thing is he just could have been like, that's it for me for today.
Yeah.
But he's like, I need to figure out what the issue is. So, and honestly, there's more and more people on the team now where a bunch of that stress that normally, I mean, you carry it anyway because you're worried about what's going on. But when you've got good people who also care, right? They help. Like I told them, I said, first of all, thank you so much for figuring this out. Thank you so much for continuing to stay at work to figure out the issue. And you know what? Now we know what the issue is, and so we can move on, right? And I just know that there's good people, and I can feel confident about what we're doing. So it's good. You guys both look wonderful.
We try.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was just. Are you recording or not?
Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I was telling him, because usually I get asked before I come upstairs, oh, who's on the podcast or what's the podcast? I said Fardad. Oh, that's nice.
I love Amelia. I know that wasn't
Nobody
Daniel
else. I said, Phil, I just tell Phil, that's the only time we're guaranteed to pick up 2 extra listeners, because the only time she listens, Permanent's Fardad's on. Shit about anybody else, but if Fardad's on, oh my God, the whole world's got to stop.
That's amazing.
Give my love to him.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will do that. So what's going on here, young man?
Return
guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for having me back on. I had such a great time the previous time. And since the previous time, I've just learned so much more about everything, mostly because I've made so many mistakes. So I thought,
has to.
Yeah, I was like, that's what I can share, is I can share Fardad's dumb mistakes, so other people don't have to make them. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, I just need to maybe have my own podcast. It's called Fardad's Fuck Ups. Like, other people can
listen. You can come on anytime you want. No problem. We don't need competition. Just come on to the show. Yeah. Otherwise, Amelia will be just listening to you. I'll never get her back on mine.
It can be a special segment. Fardad's Fuck Ups. It's an annual. It's an annual segment that goes through like my learnings.
You want to add Phil and I to that list? We could do them weekly.
Oh my God.
Enough of them.
The number of things.
No shortage of episodes. No shortage of episodes.
There was like a meme that was going around for a while, and I ended up saving it as like a photo on my phone. It's like Dean Martin. I gotta actually say it properly. I gotta look on my phone to say it properly, because it's totally hilarious, and it's like, it's a picture of Dean Martin like drinking a martini, and it says, "Oh yeah, good judgment comes from experience." And then at the bottom it says, "An experience, well, that comes from poor judgment." So I'm like,
such is life.
Yeah,
and such is life.
I wouldn't be so learned if
very, very true.
didn't make so many dumb mistakes.
Well,
right?
it's tough to learn from no mistakes. I mean, mistakes is typically where you get your best learnings, right? I mean, ideally, don't
totally.
burn the building down. That's one mistake you don't need to do.
Yeah, no, totally.
Outside of that, I mean, you make a few errors here and there.
There's like some other
really good judgment. Does that mean I've really fucked up the first part of my life?
Yeah, exactly. It comes from really poor judgment. Yeah,
it's all good, man.
It's like there's this other proverb too, which is like it goes along something like, the master has failed 1,000 times before the student has even tried, or something like that, right? And it's like that's I guess, it's all good learnings.
That's how you get to be the master.
Yeah,
that's how it works, my friend.
Oh my God. Can we even say that?
Works, grasshopper.
Totally.
Yeah.
So man, since the last time I've had a son, Elio, so I'm a new dad. That's pretty exciting, and it all kind of like came together.
It's cute.
He's a pretty cute little guy for sure, and it all kind of came together with the relaunch and repackaging of our brand. So. It's been an interesting year. So much learnings in the relaunch, and then just so much crazy new things happening with supply lead times, with just year-over-year comparisons, with just how everything's kind of flowing together. So a lot of interesting things.
So you can commiserate with the rest of us, because I love to have same bullshit, man. So I'm dying to hear someone else's shitty stories of supply chain comping numbers that are impossible to comp. Like any stories you can share to make me and Phil feel that much better, we are going to take them tonight and run.
Okay, well,
I don't think people really appreciate how interesting it is out there right now.
Oh my God. So,
But
so
but
interesting.
Supply chain challenges are still a
you
mess.
made it worse, right? Well, you made it worse or better because you did some repackaging along the way, right? Because
Oh,
every brand manager goes, if I had a chance to redesign packaging, and then when you put it out, you're kind of like, God, like I'm pretty sure, like in my head, it didn't it didn't quite look like this.
Yeah.
What
well,
happened? Like,
it some of the amazing things about it were, so for sure you go through this thing where, I mean, we did a major brand refresh, right? So like it was like redoing 10 SKUs and adding 3 innovation SKUs. So 13 SKUs, and managing, trying to end your inventory and minimize your inventory at retail while launching a new one, while you're at a time when forecasts are totally out the window, right? Like we had things planned March, April, May last year, with inventory essentially like ending by December so that everything would be perfect. And then things totally ramped up, supply chains tight, like supply tightened up. So you're trying to like get as much goods in as possible.
Mhm.
Sales are like, couple 100% up. Like in 2 months, we do 6 months worth of business.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, right? And then uh, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've got all of this inventory. Now I've got to try to clear out of it before a rebrand. And then, just going through that entire process of the clearing out, the whole process of, you've talked to your category managers for almost a year, telling them what's going on, planning out your markdown programs and everything, and then realizing like, planograms coming out in like week 8, and at week 2 you're like, why they're ordering so much stock of like the classic SKUs. I'm not calling it the
Yeah.
old SKUs, I'm calling it the classic SKUs.
Classic.
Yeah, the classic ones, right?
I like that.
And yeah. So and then all of a sudden realizing that, oh no, I'm supposed to make sure that I'm holding the retailer's hands to make sure that their markdown programs are happening, because obviously their internal communications is not that great. And, like I had probably 2 retailers in November, December ordering enough stock for almost 4 to 6 months. And it's like the markdown's supposed to start in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? And it's like, oh my God, like this is crazy.
not,
So
not not to sound like a jerk, but there is one retailer who would do that on purpose.
Well, it's called revenue generation.
Hey, right?
yeah, no,
Like, there's a revenue generating. Whoa,
Sure.
you're gonna have to cover.
I needed the inventory. I was forecasting. Oh, and by the way, thanks for the markdown money.
yeah, no, I know. And this was the other thing too, right? It's like, I'm like, oh, let me get this straight. I improve your gross margin. I reduce my footprint. I've improved my case packs to exactly what you want.
Yeah.
I've made sustainable, innovations in my SKUs. I've done all of these things to improve your productivity, and effectively most of the SKUs are identical. They're slightly different sizing maybe, or some, some slight modifications, but effectively
There's
they're,
UPC change.
yeah, but this is the thing.
New.
I needed to do a UPC change because of volume and size changes. I needed to do UPC change because of case pack changes that were going to be like, instead of break packs, everything being like, instead of everything being 12s, everything being now 2s and 3s. Right? Like sustainability updates, so biodegradable materials and like, removal of colors, so slight formulation changes or what have you, right?
Mhm.
So you need to make a UPC change. Also, you want to have the old stock go out and the new stock come in, so UPC change. But as soon as it's a UPC change, it's like effectively a new listing. So
New listing.
and so all of a sudden it's like, oh man, like that's just a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then it's
But
like,
you kind of owe them for that.
why do I owe them? Why
you
do I
kind of
owe
owe
them?
them though, if you think about it, because if you think of all the because all the consulting you got, they told you how to change your pack size. They showed you how to they kept your space on the shelf. They kept you whole by making sure they ordered continually. I mean, I don't know what you're bitching, pissing, and moaning about. I mean, heaven forbid. I mean,
and all this
all the
trouble
shit
you
they
got to
gave
go
you.
to keep sending them one
What's
page.
What's a couple pennies in markdowns?
I know.
Oh my God.
Well, you know what? Like there was definitely some positives around it, which was like, I mean, the big fill orders. So like the first two months,
nice.
Sales were amazing and everything. But you know what? One thing that I definitely didn't plan for, like I think we did actually everything quite well, but what I didn't plan for was markdown starting way later, retailer trying to get rid of a ton of goods, and then the new stuff going on in there. So probably my core customers bought 6 months worth of goods. I'm hoping that actually I picked up
of classic.
Yeah, of the classic. I'm hoping I picked up a bunch of new
classic.
Customers too. So that's all been positive. But so that was one thing. The other one, which I know you guys are feeling the pain on, because also I'm reading a lot of articles on, and everybody is trying to now, they're not comping with last year. They're trying to comp with 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So
2019.
Yeah. So basically, just because our numbers were so sky high between pretty much end of March and June, right now we're like comparing to 2019, and compared to 2019, we're probably up. Well, we're up 20 to 24%. Compared to 2020, we're down.
Huge.
Yeah, which is great. So I don't have any complaints about that.
That's huge.
Yeah, and we thought to ourselves that, compared to 2020 or peak lockdown or whatever, we thought if we're just down around 40% or so, that'll still be amazing. We started off with being down about 70, and now we're down about 12. So it's good, and overall,
that much ground. Holy.
Yeah. So overall, over 2 years, it's a big positive. But I know everybody is looking at numbers quite differently, and then the whole supply chain's just, for the lack of a better word, fucked. Like,
can we pause for a second? Because I think
sure
this is kind of an important conversation, because Lord knows Kenny and I have had this conversation, and I've had this for multiple brands, right? And so I think if you're a brand and you're listening to Fardad talk about this, like, the pandemic last year added lift to everybody's number, right? Like not everybody did things the same way, but the pandemic had, I don't know, depending on the article and the industry you're in, somewhere between a 20 and 30%. So you saw 20 to 30% more sales, not including whatever else you did special last year, right? Yeah. And it sounds like you did extra special, which is an amazing 2020. But then the issue, right, that you're talking about now is you didn't do, like, you might have done enough to create part of this lift, but this COVID 20-30%, nobody did organic marketing to capture 20-30%, right? Like, we
just need to be in stock.
We just happened to show up, and so
if you had product, you were winner chicken dinner.
But totally. But this year it means, the classic mistake that I'm seeing on some brands is they're going, great, we did 20 to 30 last year, we did 30 last year, and then we poured some more gas and I got to 50. So we're going to now grow another 10% on top of that 50 that we grew last year. And you're like, how will you?
How?
Yeah.
How? You got a gift from God. I mean, the pandemic wasn't the greatest gift, but for business, it was a gift in saying, here's a lift that you'll never see again.
Yeah.
But just don't measure against it, because you're never going to comp it either.
Yeah.
No, totally. And I would say that I would be surprised if there was. I don't think that there's very many people who are doing better than last year, unless like they were in something like maybe lipstick's doing better because it really tanked and now it's
Yeah,
picking
anything in
up.
cosmetics like that side,
Yeah,
maybe, but
yeah,
nothing else, buddy. Nothing
yeah,
else.
yeah,
Because supply
yeah.
chain's still a mess. I mean, Phil and I, again, I'm glad you're on to talk about that. The supply chain has changed. We're still not really caught up, right? There's
Dude,
still holes all over the place. Container
so
pricing. I don't know what you're
oh,
paying, but our
oh
container from Europe was $5,000 last year. It's 10 to 12 this year.
yeah,
That's just a
check,
container.
check,
I got
check.
nothing in it yet. I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
put
yeah.
even nothing in it. And it's
So
gone
man,
through the roof.
yeah. So that for sure. The shipping cost way up. Lead time for packaging, caps,
Insanity.
jars, totally insane. And then like so then there's this thing where your lead times are really long, so then you're trying to find other suppliers. The other suppliers costs are crazy high.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh my god, okay, perfect, I got some jars and caps. Oh, but if you want them printed, that's going to delay them another 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I guess we're going to label them. Oh, guess what, labels are like, used to cost you whatever 5 cents to print. Oh, the label is going to cost you 60 cents.
Yeah.
Or and you're like, what?
Listen, you got a kid now, just give him some crayons and some Sharpies.
Just
Get
let it
him
go,
to
man.
work, Fardad. Come on, let's.
Absolutely.
I know.
Those will be pieces of art one day. And you know what? It could be collectible.
Totally.
Find an Elio in each box, even if he just does 1 out of 12. Like, it's huge.
I know. People keep on being like, oh my god, have you seen the price of lumber? And I'm like, guess what? That's going to be your paper box too.
Well, first off, if you can get corrugate, find corrugate.
Yeah. So
right. I mean, everything's that. Yeah.
And here's the other one that's just been like crazy was we had stuff that like we'd ordered in I guess it would be September, which we were planning on it being in our warehouse by December so that we could package and produce to make sure that it goes out by January for like a February, March planogram release. And stuff would then the supplier would ship it, or it would get picked up by the freight forwarder, and then all of a sudden it's like we're like, oh hey, it should be here in 30 days or in whatever in 40 days, and then it goes all of a sudden I'm having some weird kind of something happening on my screen here, and then all of a sudden it's like the freight forwarder is like, oh yeah, it's at the port, oh yeah, it's going to get on the boat, and then it's like all of a sudden January and they're like, oh, it's just getting on the boat, and you're like, what? But you picked it up like months ago. And it's like, port congestion or whatever. Yeah. And then we had some like European stuff where it's like, oh yeah, we're expecting it on this date, we're checking it up on it, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the boat name, this and the other, and it's like, oh, it's supposed to arrive next week. And then you're like, hey, where's the shipment? Nobody's called us to book the delivery. And then they're like, it's in Portugal. And it's like, what? It's supposed to be in Montreal. Why is it in Portugal? Oh, it got rerouted and now it's going through the Panama Canal.
Well, because Montreal was closed down, remember? Yeah. Montreal had strikes.
Like it just was like just
totally... Montreal had port strikes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So they had to go away from that. You're right. So far that. So it comes to Montreal, maybe it's 3 weeks. Now you go through to Panama, add 6.
Yeah. No, it just was like
it's terrible. It's terrible.
It was a disaster. It was like a total disaster.
Have your retailer friends given you the honor and privilege of becoming a financial institution by allowing you to participate in longer terms before you get your money?
So
are they giving that privilege? Yeah.
So I have to say,
everybody wants to be a bank, Phil. Everybody wants to loan money to big companies. Everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So we did have that problem in the past, for sure, and it was very, very irritating. And obviously, when you're doing a launch and you've got markdown programs and you've got slotting fees for improvements, right? Or consulting fees, like you said. So the cash flow gets really tight, and you're having to buy stock well in advance because you need your safety stock,
Yeah.
and your lead times are longer, and it's just like cash flow becomes crazy tight. What has actually improved is retailers, the ones that I'm dealing with anyway, are actually paying on time. So
Wow.
that's been a positive. But just I can tell you that not everybody was kind of understanding a bit around the delays, and I was sending out like um, a letter every almost 2-3 weeks, kind of COVID update about what's going on with our launch, and like when things are going to get delivered, or updating timelines on a regular basis. Um, and then all of a sudden, you know, everybody's kind of okay about it, and then all of a sudden it's just like, hey, listen, we're gonna be comping against a full year, so like that, if you're 2 months late, and you only got 10 months worth of sales, it's not like we're going to compare it for 10 months. We're not going to compare the sales velocity for 10 months. We're going to compare it for like 12 months.
Wow.
And that was difficult because like I can tell you, with one of our items, we have this like ingrown rescue kit, which one of the pieces is a soap. And the soap we don't produce. We get it from a very big soap manufacturer in Rhode Island. And they were like really rocked with COVID. And the order was delayed 20 weeks. Like we were expecting it in November. It didn't get in until like late February.
Jeez.
Early March, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like trying to communicate that to the retailer on a regular basis. And the supplier, although they were somewhat transparent, they weren't very transparent. They'd say, 4 weeks, there's a 3-week delay. And then all of a sudden, the day before the 3 weeks, it's like, oh, another 3 weeks. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
We
And
swear
it's
we
like,
didn't see this one coming. We swear.
yeah. And honestly, like I would have preferred at the beginning of them say 20 weeks.
Yeah. You know what it is though, but nobody wants to tell you that either. And quite frankly, because we're dealing with a lot of suppliers like that too, it wasn't even malintent to tell you 4 weeks. That's what they're being
totally,
told,
yeah.
right? And then the problem is in their countries, maybe there's no containers, because that's a problem worldwide. The containers are in the wrong countries, right? So now they're sitting, well, how do we consolidate? Well, we can't. So now things are sitting in warehouse. Can't get to the port. Why? Because you don't have enough orders, or there's enough orders, but there's no containers. So it's this juggling act on their side. So, I mean, people just do not appreciate how much attention this pandemic put on supply chain in general. And what we thought was such a great system, and we were all so proud of ourselves, is a mess.
Yeah.
Right. And it's fixable. Yeah. It's totally fixable. You got to be a little bit smarter. We got to think out, plan out a little bit. But this thing here really defined, like, holy shit, man, there's problems up and down the supply chain. Raw materials, car shipping, corrugate, steel, this, that, everything. It's crazy.
No, totally. And then the other thing that's been a little bit of an irritant, and I don't know if you guys have had this issue, but all of a sudden whether it's the regulatory framework, shipments getting pulled, things getting reviewed, like all of that stuff, crossing borders, products crossing borders, like I can't tell you the number of times things are getting pulled, additional documentation, or we've got goods traveling between like UK and Europe, and that just being a total weird thing around, like nobody knowing what's going on. And I can't tell you like the number of webinars with like, whether it was like EDC or freight forwarders or like Canadian trade commissioners or whatever, you get on there and the webinar gets billed as something along the lines of like, resolving cross-border issues. Mm-hmm. And everything's like, well, it's not quite clear. You need to do your due diligence. And it's like, are you like, really? Did I just spend an hour?
Why am I on this?
To have like 3 experts kind of say, do your due diligence?
basically
on,
we
man.
have no idea why things are happening.
Just make sure you do your part, because we don't know how to do ours, but just make sure you do yours.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
anyway, it's been really difficult. And then like I thought we were being so smart with, planning this thing, our relaunch way out in advance, talking to retailers way in advance to have a good idea for like the markdown programs, the launch, making sure that any issues around, slotting issues would be resolved early on. None of that panned out. The markdowns never took place. Making sure that we do our pricing in a way where, with the improvements and the value that we're providing for customers is better, but we're not reducing margins or dollar margins or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we've launched and everybody's introducing a new infrastructure, some kind of infrastructure funding or some kind of
another set of taxes,
like another, effectively, like with all the large ones, it's been like 4+, right? Like 4+ points in one deduction or another.
Yeah.
To pay for infrastructure that they should have been investing in, i.e. their web or their omni-channel strategy well in advance. And why am I paying for that again?
Why are we paying for why on this side are we paying for any of it anyway? It's not mine.
Yeah, no,
it's
totally.
yours. You do it.
And the thing is that, well, if it's a partnership, then why am I paying you slotting when I'm making improvements to?
Wasn't that the whole point of the slotting?
Yeah.
I guess it's a new slotting. It's called web slotting now.
Yeah.
Not just warehouse slotting.
So then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, everything that you've done with your pricing to kind of put yourself on good footing to be able to, either do better promotions or whatever.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it disappears overnight because there's like a letter that goes out that says, oh, starting tomorrow or next week or in 3 weeks or in a month, there's going to be an automatic X% for freight, X% for inflation, and X% for infrastructure charges. And you're like, whoa, that's a lot of money. Like, and then to top it off, like the inflationary pressure for boxes, cartons, jars, caps, ingredients. Like we've had 2 of our ingredients like go up all of a sudden like 30%.
Yeah.
Like,
but you're passing those on to the retailer, right? Like cost increases, no?
This is the problem. No. This is a podcast, so you can't see like.
It's a good thing that was on my face there,
Good Lord. I love it. Well, costs just went up on the supplier side too. So I'm assuming the retailer said, "Hey, I understand. You know what? Our costs went up. Yeah, we'll take a price increase." Because
totally. You know what? And I'm really hoping that what it's going to be. I don't think this is going to happen, but what I'm really hoping is that all the retailers just understand. Like, look, that's just not a cost that you can bear. Like the margins just aren't there.
Well, you'll just start shorting people because you're not going to be able to make the money, or you're going to find retailers that are going to play with you.
Yeah.
Because it gets to the point where it's just stupid. I mean, it's great that you need improvements, but I have to feed families too, right?
Totally.
I mean, it's not a game, right?
Like I had one of my really good retailers this year a while ago kind of come to me and say, a couple of the people that I've got good relationships with come and tell me, oh, hey, look, we're reviewing our ask because we feel like we're not getting what other people are getting.
For sure.
And do you mind sharing with me what other people are getting? And my thing was that, like, look,
no,
no, but honestly, like, listen, Phil, this is the way that I build my relationships too. Is I go, look, I try to share and be informative about things, and I said straight up, I said this, I said, you may not be getting it in, let's say, slotting, but you're getting it way more in co-op, or you're getting it way more in charity, or you're getting it more in
pick your bucket, pick the bucket you want it in. That's the bucket it goes into.
Totally.
Can't have them all.
And this is what I said is I said,
Yeah.
look, the way that I look at it is I look at it as one big bucket. And also I said, here's how I look at it. This is how I protect myself. And it really has been a protection tactic that's worked a couple of times. And I'll give you those examples. So my tactic with that kind of stuff has been I got to treat retailers in an equal way so that I can defend my pricing. So,
Yeah.
for example, what will happen is that when you know the really big drug chain got bought out or merged with the really big food chain. I don't know if I'm supposed to say those names or not.
You can say whatever you want. We swear all the time, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So like, when the whole Loblaws and
Yeah.
Shoppers thing happened and they have the harmonization. Same thing with the Sobeys Safeways.
Yeah.
And they did the harmonization. At the end, when they did the bill back, like I want to say, I think with Shoppers and Loblaws, it was like $300 for us, like less than 0.5% of the total overall business. And with Safeway Sobeys, there was no bill back because if it was effectively the same when they looked at the dead net cost.
You actually had them on the right playing field.
Yeah,
you'd be one of the few.
And then the other one was like when Alta Canada's failed attempt. What was around, hey, like what's the pricing? What can you offer me? This and the other. And I was like, look, here's the way that it is. If you look at any one of my big retailers, here's how I kind of do it. Is that if you need 20% co-op plus 10% scan, well, like, man, that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
But if you're giving me the events for free, I'm only covering the scans, then you can have something else for like a DC allowance, like it just,
or whatever you want, if it's charity allowance or if it's whatever.
And basically, what I tell every single buyer, which is absolutely true, is I go, here's been my experience, and now I have almost the luxury of saying I've been in the business for 30 years because I'm an old man now. That like I go, I've been with the same company, it's a family business, for 30 years. And so at every single retailer, I've seen how category managers go from one retailer to another retailer to another retailer, or from one industry to another.
Right.
And the last thing that I want is one to go, hey, when I was at that desk, you were giving this. How come at this desk you're not? That like puts me, that doesn't make me look very ethical, right?
Right.
And so when I see that move, and essentially that's what I tell people too, is I go, look, here for me, I need to be able to wake up, feel good about what I'm doing. For me, I know that if I see you, whether you're working at Loblaws or Shoppers or Walmart or Rexall or London Drugs or wherever, that when I meet you again and you look at what the dead net cost is, you go, Fardad treated me the same.
Yeah.
So, or Parissa treated me the same.
It's hard though, Fardad, because people get into the trap of it. They walk in, especially if they give preferential treatment to the bigger accounts or to different accounts or friendly accounts, not realizing that it's a small industry. And people do end up in the same desks, just different buildings, and they do remember. I remember I paid $9 before. Why you charged me $12?
Yeah.
Well, it's not that drastic, but trust me, I know examples that are almost that drastic. Do you know what I mean? It's a dangerous game. Like,
so for listeners, I think what we're talking about is when you go and you sell product to retailers, there's always this extra investment that you have to do to run promotions, to kind of make things happen at store level, right? Store level activations. And it always comes in the form of cost. And one thing that it's far more common practice now, particularly since we've had a bunch of large retailers merge. But for a long time, when the retail landscape was pretty stable, it's kind of like you worked with your preferred partners and then you kind of let funding go where it wanted to go, right? So let's say you spent 10% of your gross trade sales with somebody, so let's say it's Loblaws, right? We've already named them anyway. So let's say it's Loblaws and I spend 10% of my grocery sales with them on flyers and things like that. It sometimes it's because maybe Fardad looks after Loblaws, Kenny looks after London Drugs, and Phil looks after Shoppers Drug Mart. And so Fardad might give Loblaws 10%. Kenny, has a great relationship with London Drugs. He might give them 13. And then, I'm having a terrible time with Shoppers, so fuck those guys. I'm going to give them 8%. Right. And so for maybe I was thinking about this. I think it's probably almost like 10 to 15 years. It was fairly stable, right? So those numbers, if we started at that number at the end of that 15-year run, maybe Fardad was at 15% with Loblaws. Kenny was, found the light and balanced them out at like 13, 14%. And I went from like 8%, but I got a great buyer in between. So I kind of threw like cash at them and I'm killing it. And I'm laughing at Fardad and Kenny at the national sales meeting, but I've spent 18%. So what we're talking about now is, well, what happened? Loblaws and Shoppers became the same company. So then the combined Loblaw Shoppers went, wait. So Fardad was giving me 14%. And Phil was given, what the hell is going on here? We're the same company. How come one gets 14 and the other got 18? You're jamming us. Now we want to go through the books and figure out how long you've been jamming us and how long the rates have been unequal. And so what you're hearing us talk about is kind of this Fardad talking about, look, like the practice of making sure that you're being fair with all the retailers that you work with, right? So because this will happen in one form or another. And I think all three of us have got stories from people we know going, oh, what do I do now? When they open the books, we're so jammed, right? Yeah. You're like, you know what? Maybe just have another drink. I'm really sorry. I don't like experience and screw ups. I don't know how to help you, man. You're so jammed. Like, just like, save some money now and you're going to have to.
But if you're a small company, you have to understand that because you do that with a Loblaws, and especially with transition, because, Shoppers program spend was super high. And Loblaws, being a grocer, was expensive, but it wasn't as high. They got you in a million other spots. Like they all got their skin. But all of a sudden they say, we're going to go from 7 to 15 like them. And just so you know, for the last 2 years, you've actually underpaid us. So here's a big whopping debit. If you're small, it could be another year and a half before you see money because all the POs are going in to cover the debit because you played a favorite game, which was really dangerous. So Fardad's right. If you're gonna sit there as a manufacturer or a vendor and say, listen, my program spends 15% on my highest wholesale, it'll be 10 on the next and 5 on the next, because you could have different levels of wholesale. One guy who buys 6 boxes should not get the same cost as the guy buying a pallet, and the same guy who's buying a truck. That's understandable. That's acceptable. That works. And but make sure your dollar spends. Oh, for sure. And if they don't, I mean, what the hell? You're not going to get. I'm not going to give you, truck pricing for 2 cases. That's stupidity, right? But I'll give you the same percentage spend potentially, or I'll weigh it out so that you never screw them. And to your point, Sparta, because I came from one account, we had 50 buckets. And then another account, like the other national mass player, doesn't have a lot of buckets. They want it up front, and then they pickpocket a little bit here and there. And then grocers are just grocers. Grocers just fucking nickel and dime you to absolute death because the amount of fines can strip out any amount of program you'll ever spend. You got to manage all that crap, right?
So I've got a slightly different view on the fines now. Like I don't like them, and they're definitely an irritant. But one of the other big learnings this year for us has been, I mean, I always knew this too, but just managing the flow of material through your facility, from everything like containers coming in, shipments going out, your team in the warehouse trying to handle that stuff, production, managing all of that stuff. It's like, oh, hey, wait a minute. If you're just going to show up at my door with no appointment, with no PO number, with nothing, and you're like, oh, I got a shipment. I'm sorry, I can't have my guys leave the floor, while they're packing a container going to China, or like a Walmart order. They're running around trying to make sure that it's meeting the must arrive by date. I can't have them all of a sudden like come to the door because you just showed up. Like,
well, your problem became mine, right? And I'm thinking, well, I didn't do your job properly, and then we can both live in a nice, easy world. I agree with you on that. Yeah, right? Being late is a problem.
Yeah,
because you fuck up my world.
Yeah, and the what I'm finding on the fines level too, and we've been talking about this a lot recently, has been oftentimes these fines and these debits have to do with there being a disconnect in the communication channel, which is oftentimes technology related. So EDI. So what's happening is, you're sending your shipment out. Maybe your ASN is incorrect, or there's some issue with, like, I don't know, a unit of measure, whatever the hell it is, or some data transmission. They get the goods. They don't know your stuff is 12 to a case, or what's the difference between a hot wax and a warm wax. They're just getting a shipment. So when they scan it and they're saying, there's like, I don't know, a quarter piece missing, and you're like, how could there be a quarter piece missing, right? Like, it's a data transmission error. Then, that info gets sent back, or it doesn't get resolved at that point. That dirty data doesn't get resolved, and it keeps on happening. Then it's like you go to the category manager. The categories manager is like, well, I don't know. Talk to the buyer. Talk to the guy who's placing the orders. You talk to that person, they don't know. And really what it is there's a data set someplace, there's a technical team someplace, there's an EDI translation software someplace that's doing the mapping of this data. And nobody knows who that is. Nobody knows where that is. Nobody knows how to resolve that situation. And it keeps on happening. And it's every day, the person from accounting or somebody in accounting going, what's this deduction, to the person in sales, and the person in sales going, I don't know. Yeah. Like another one for me was, we go through this whole thing, right?
So
like you're providing RA numbers, right? Like return authorization, like blanket return authorization, because you're doing the refresh. And the number goes out, like it's all like, fancy forms that you're filling out, that, here's the carrier, here's the RA number, here's the whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, there's a deduction. You're like, what's this huge deduction? Oh, maybe it's the returns. I don't know what it is. Are the returns coming? There's no RA number on it. And then all of a sudden, like 4 days goes by, and it's like, receiving door 2, and it's like 6 pallets. And it's like, what's this stuff? Who's it from? And it's like, there's no numbers on it.
And what do you do?
Like, and it's just like, oh my God. Like,
so you phone and find the retailer right at that point.
Well, and it's like with us, it was like, it's got to be retailer A, because that's the only person.
It's the only one who does this all the time.
Or that's the only person who's got this product mix. That's the only person who's got this volume, like that. And
sometimes it's the boxes that they return it in, right? Because it's not like it's coming back in the boxes.
It's never going to come back in the box it was. That's been bailed.
And so
it comes back in repacks, different boxes. Oh my God!
I got to say about those boxes.
Done that because we got returns once and we couldn't figure it out. But then what we figured out is they shipped it back in like banana boxes.
Oh, dude, I was going to tell you my banana box story, because
but only that retailer carries that brand of banana. So you're like, I know who gave this back to us. Like, this is amazing, right?
we used to like do business with Albertsons in the US, and the rep would keep on talking about, oh yeah, you're going to get banana boxes. And I would always be like, man, what's he talking about banana boxes? And he'd be like, yeah, you don't want to do that promo. You're going to get banana boxes. You don't want to do that. You're going to get banana boxes. And I would always be like, what is he talking about? What are these like banana boxes? Like, what's that code for?
Slang for something,
Yeah.
or
And then we got delisted, and we got banana boxes back of our product, and I was like, oh,
Now I know what banana boxes are.
banana box.
yeah.
Well, you know what? It's because, again, a lot of manufacturers who are don't realize that the boxes you sent them in they're gone. They've been bailed immediately. So if there is a return or a recall or something, it's going to come back in. I mean, shit, we did sun care returns in Pampers boxes, Huggies boxes,
whatever pieces of crap,
whatever boxes we had, that's what it go into. So 6 pieces could be in the box the size of a house, and the other one, you're taping and trying to hold the lid down. So, pallets look mumbo jumbo, shit's all over the place, but whatever, it's out of our building.
So these guys, they don't do that. What they do is, because the banana boxes are the only ones, because they're heavy enough, like, so they hold their shape and the bottoms of solid. But if
They're
there's
waxed.
anything else, they don't bother, right? What they do is they stack the boxes. Only the bottom of the pallet needs to hold the floor of the box. And then every box that they stick on top of that, it doesn't matter, right? Because they just throw them on top so they can hold the verticals in place. And then they shrink wrap the crap out of it, right? So, because I remember, like, in the old days when I worked customer service, it was like I would get these phone calls and like I would put all the customer notes going, banana boxes, this label, and then you'd always get the AR, AP person who'd be like, why do you have Chiquita? And I'm like, oh yeah, nope, that's the grocer. It's 100% their return. And then I was like, oh, wait, are you counting? Yeah, I'm going to don't cut it open. Like, don't pick it up. And they're like, hey, oh my God. Right. And you're like,
yeah,
there's a way to do this. Cause you're like, sorry. Just
yeah, no, that, you know what? I think everybody needs to, like, here's another learning that I had this year. Like, I was like, man, everybody goes through, and people are so focused on the sales and going in. Everybody actually needs to have a very good return strategy and process, because you know what? That's just what happens.
Inevitably, something's going to come back.
You're always going to have it. In fact, no, you're always going to have it.
Yeah.
It needs to be part of your retail strategy. Therefore, here's what you need to do. So here's was my thought about it. What you need to do is you need to find 4 to 6 serious closeout people. Yeah. And you need to tell them, here's the deal that I've got with you. Here's my product mix. And my deal with you is as follows. Every year, I'm going to get X amount approximately of goods coming in. I'm letting you know that in advance. And these are kind of the periods that I'm going to get them. And, a quarter a piece, because that's what they want. They either want 10 cents a piece or a quarter a piece. Right. And you're thinking to yourself, what the, excuse my language, but what the F, like a quarter? But here's what you want to do. You actually want to get a quarter. And the deal with it is this. It comes into my warehouse. I know the count. I stick a sticker on it. You pick it up.
Oh, she goes. Yeah. Clean.
Yeah. And you know what? You deal with the mess.
Yeah. And they're happy to, because you know why? It was a quarter.
Yeah. Totally.
Who cares?
Totally. And you know what? You should be super happy, because here's the situation. Here's my story on that. That stuff starts to come in. You got that stuff. Your warehouse is packed. And now what are you doing? Your containers are coming in. You're going to a 3PL and you're paying like $20, $30 a pallet location. Yeah. So,
and to do what? To clean up that shit.
That you can't sell.
Well, what are you going to do with it anyway? It's shit. You know what? At the end of the day, you're going to waste so much time and money.
Yeah.
For what? Take the damn quarter and move on.
Yeah. And here's the other thing, man. I'll tell you this from again. I'm really into environmental issues. I'm really into environmental law. I'm really into weird, wonky policy stuff that bores the shit out of people. But what you have to realize is you can't throw things away anymore.
No.
So if you were to say, take it to the dump even, you're liable for that stuff. If you've got a pallet going to the dump, your company name and your ownership's name is going to go to that pallet in the dump. And in 30 years, when they figure out the type of paper or plastic that you used was toxic, you and your kids are freaking liable for it. So take a quarter, get it out of your warehouse immediately, let somebody else deal with it.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's just also
advice.
something too, which is like when you're providing that RA, that's when you go to your, if you want to call it your alternative channel, your closeout channel, your waste channel, whatever. Hey man, I don't know what it's going to be, but 10 cents, 15 cents, 25 cents. But here's the deal. I'm going to call you. I'm going to tell you the quantities. I'm going to put a label on it. You pick it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's difficult too, because, we live in a society where if you've ever been to like, whatever, an outlet store or whatever, you're like, man, there sure is a lot of Polo or Prada or whatever Calvin Klein bits and pieces here, right? Like there's a lot of
That's
stuff.
where it goes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff. So getting rid of stuff, but work that into your, like that is something. Like I was thinking a little bit about some of the things that, like I said, Fardad's fuck ups or learnings or whatever. And I was like, man, that one was one where I was like, nobody kind of, or I shouldn't say nobody, everybody thinks about the sale. Actually, you got to kind of think about every year you're going to have returns. Those returns can be sizable. Those returns will cost you money because you think you're saving money. Oh yeah, I'll take them back. I'll store them. I'll work through them. I'll salvage them. I'll resell them. No. All of that's money. All of that's labor. Like, you know what?
Get rid of them.
Yeah, 15 cents, 25 cents. That's gold.
Cash money, someone else's problem.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're right. People, you know what it is, Fardad? And the thing is, it's funny. Everybody tells you, all the buyers, when new people would come, they would tell you, especially with seasonal, you're gonna get this back, you get this back. You can see the person shiny at all they saw was the PO. You're thinking that's fine. Just remember, you really never got paid for that. I paid you for it, but you still own it.
Yeah. No, totally.
You're gonna get it back, and I'm gonna get my money back. So
yeah.
You got to go in wide-eyed, right? It's
yeah. And your alternatives are as follows: either that credit balance remains, and the next order that you make in, they won't pay you if they've paid you in advance, or you're never going to do business with them.
No,
again.
because the credit balance don't go away.
Yeah, no.
Even if they write them off as bad debt, they keep the name somewhere.
Oh, totally. No,
right. So when you go back in to try to relist, that number's there, and you're gonna pay for it sooner or later.
No, totally.
If you get back in.
Yeah.
If you get back in.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You're right. But I mean, again, it's the things that people just need to think of before they get too far into it, right?
Yeah. So okay, so the learnings, there was the return one. Like I just want to get some of these things across. This is Fardad's fuck ups. So there's the returns.
Don't use them all tonight, though, because we need you on again. Then, so like, don't share everything.
Oh, they'll be more Fardad.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm pretty sure about that one. So there's a returns one, like whatever you're doing as a new business or whatever, or even as an existing business, have that one worked out. And like, you don't want to maybe talk about that up front, but have your returns channel sorted out and how you're gonna and assume you're gonna get somewhere between 25 to 30% of it back. And if you don't, awesome, man, great, but think you're gonna get 25 to 30% back. The other one for me was no matter how much you talk about your launch, your plan, and you're trying to tiptoe around the slotting, trying to be like, oh yeah, you know what, this is all we're doing, and hoping that the retailer is going to go, oh yeah, how are you going to handle the slotting? Because like you're talking about 10 or 13 items here. You need to go right from the beginning and go, hey man, I'm concerned about the slotting.
Yeah,
like
let's get it over with. You're going to pay anyway.
Yeah, or start that negotiation then.
Yeah.
around it about
Yeah.
like, hey, listen, how can we do this? Because
Yeah.
obviously I can't.
Yeah.
And the problem is that there's a perverse incentive in there where the person gets bonused on it, right? So that's a bit of a weird one. Then the next one is that just because you've got the markdown schedule in place, just because there's supposed to be a markdown, just because you figure that there's a new planogram rolling out, there's a whole bunch of items getting delisted, the buyer, the category manager knows about it, the buyer knows about it. Remember, what happens is these guys get a screen with 500 orders and they go approve all. They don't go, oh look, Parissa's on that list. They shouldn't be getting an order because we're clearing everything out.
Mhm.
So you need to babysit the like the markdown, like when it's going to
The
start.
entire process needs to be, you got to really map it out. You really got to be on it.
No, and you need to, like I always say, you need to babysit this. You need to
Yeah,
babysit this.
100%.
You need to babysit this. And the reality is that everybody goes, but that's somebody else's responsibility. What? And here's what I always say. What I've just been telling my team day in, day out is, who pays for it at the end?
Exactly.
We do. We
Exactly.
pay for it at the end.
So whose
you know what?
responsibility is it?
Yeah,
It's your money.
It's our responsibility. So the
Absolutely.
thing is that, you know what? No, you need to make sure that you call in. You need to make sure that you send in the email. You need to make sure that you're checking. And you know what? It's not once, actually. You need to keep on doing that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
10,000
Yeah.
times
You got
until
to
it
count
happens.
down the number of days before the markdown. You got to count down the number of days it's on markdown. If you've got a one pager, make 2 more different looking one pagers because they don't stick, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No.
And like, honestly, I've had buyers get angry, right? Because I like bring in the same, you bring in the same page, going repetition is the same thing. I've had a buyer go, I've seen this fucking thing. Don't show me this again. You brought it twice. And you're like, but you're still not doing it, right? So I flip it inside
That's
out.
what you got to
flip it
get to
upside
know,
down,
though.
like,
You got to remember, category managers and buyers are pretty much useless on that. Everything went in, but it didn't register necessarily.
Yeah.
So maybe the other trick too, Fardad, with a lot of the accounts, get to know the person who's actually going to do the job or do the work.
This is
You find that admin assistant, and that's who you go after, because they will do it.
Totally.
That guy or girl is
master
the one that's going to
person.
sit there and say, okay,
Find the master
I
data
got
person.
it.
Yeah.
Find that person, because you're right. Because you know what? You can tell the merchandise manager 30 times. Yeah, whatever. Because quite frankly, I don't give a shit. Because if it doesn't get done, you're still going to pay anyway. So what do I care?
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll just take it off the shelf when the new stuff comes in. Here, put it in a box in the back of the banana boxes and get the shit out of my warehouse. Go.
Yeah.
I'm done. It was easy for me. I didn't have anything to do. Well, you had a mark. We had it all planned. Well, whatever. You should have followed it because it's not my job.
Well, and
care.
also, I mean, I don't know, again, it's because we had a really good year, because we're a strong brand, because I was feeling really confident about our refresh, or because I'm just like 50 years old now. But I basically had one of like my major retailers come to me like 2 weeks before the launch and say, you need to help me with the returns. You need to help me with my excess inventory. And I was like, look, I'm going to do everything that I can to help you. But here's the first email that I sent you 8 months ago. And here's the other 12 emails that I sent you.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that I'm going to stick by my guns here is because I'm a little guy.
Yeah,
If this was, well, no, you know what? I didn't say it that way, Ken. This is what I said. I said, I'm a little guy. And for you, this is chump change. If this had happened with Procter & Gamble, your retail chain would have gone down.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of returns. Because I can tell you, they wouldn't take it back.
Yeah.
So you need to figure out, what was it in your system, in your communication channel, that had the reorder on while the markdown should have been happening.
Yeah, it should have been shut off.
Like, you need to figure that out.
Yeah.
I'll help you. I'll do everything that I can, but you need to figure this one out.
Right.
And I was really lucky, because the person who I was dealing with either really understood what I was talking about, or I had enough documentation to go, listen, like something isn't right here. Like I, I've really been working with you on this for a long time. Like somebody's dropped the ball. It wasn't me. I'll help. But like you can't say, Fardad, you need to clean up the mess when I've been the entire time trying to make sure that there is no mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but you know what? I mean, I still got a smile on my face. It's like I'm getting to that point where I'm going, you know what? If it wasn't all of the craziness, all of the problems, it probably wouldn't be as exciting.
Exactly. It's not as fun.
Yeah.
How's the rebrand going? Like, so
Okay.
now that you've done the rebrand, right? Because it's kind of cool, right? Like the packages look really great, and then you've done
Yeah.
sustainability stuff.
So I'll the whole refresh, how it all rolled out actually, even with all of this stuff that I'm telling you, it's amazing that it happened. I just can't believe that my team pulled it together. I can't believe that even with some of I had some very big retailers. Actually, you know what? I should give shoppers credit. There was a lot of things that drove me bonkers around making it happen, but they handled it very well. Ulta handled it very, very well, like with the markdown, the timing, and everything. Walmart was actually pretty good too. All of that, and of course, you can hate Walmart for a lot of things, but just there not being a slotting allowance around that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like that.
It's huge.
That's
Sorry,
a
it's
really
huge.
big deal.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. You can just say it like that. It's huge. They're by far one of the easy. If you do what you're told, follow your world. Not that complicated. And that listing fee not coming in is a blessing.
And my other thing is like I told this to everybody who was asking for slotting allowance. I was like, hey, listen, man, I will commit this dollar amount to you, and I will show you that I spent it on direct advertising on your retailer, on your stores, through social media, through all of these different channels. And I will use it to move product so that it's moving product and that it's directed at your store and only your store. I will show you the bills. I will do anything so that this money just doesn't go into your whatever general revenue.
How'd that go?
No, nobody was into it.
No, you didn't get any buyers? Jeez. With such a good worm on the hook, I was surprised.
Yeah, dude, none.
An altruistic notion. Why? Who could refuse such a thing?
I was like, man, you'll make it on margin.
Yeah, or I could just take the money and I'll worry about it later.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway,
the money and worry about it like in a month when I sweat you for more money is how that. Yeah.
So the refresh, all of that flowed through quite well, relatively well, I would say. It's been very difficult to compare because there's been some changes. So we've had some side changes, some retail changes, some formula changes. I don't think that the refresh that we did, I think it was a real refresh, but I don't think that if you were an old customer and a new customer, you still make the connection. So it wasn't so radical that you wouldn't know that it's the same brand. With almost everybody, with the exception of a couple of retailers, we did a total, like the old stuff's out, the new stuff's in. With all the big ones, we did that anyway. Right. There were some people who said, we'll do like a rollout where the old stuff goes out and the new stuff comes in. It's been difficult to compare it because you're comping against a crazy year. There's slight changes in the products, but overall, there are some products that have been actually even doing better.
That's awesome.
And overall, it's been doing well. I'm feeling very hopeful. So that's been
good.
Super positive.
Good.
Big change. Some kind of, I would say, COVID changes. Like in the last year, we never used to seal our boxes because, generally speaking, in our category, people don't know very much about the products. They do tend to open the boxes. Even if you've sealed the boxes, people end up opening it and then it ends up opening up. And but everything from our Amazon orders, whether it's Vendor Central or Seller Central, to people buying products and taking it home, saying something like, "Oh, the bottom of the box was a little bit open," or like if it looks like somebody has handled the box, or that even in the shipping from Amazon or from our website or whatever, a corner is open, people are like, "My box has been touched." So like,
Yeah.
I'm on the verge of essentially going, "Oh, you know what? We're just going to glue the top and the bottom like toothpaste, or like Tylenol."
I don't know sometimes what you do, but the problem is you end up creating more packaging too, which is something I'm sure you're not going to be thrilled about doing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, because now you're packaging on packaging on packaging in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. I know.
But
Like,
I get it.
Yeah.
But how are you going to do it so that you're still doing, you don't want any more plastic. So maybe you find like a corn base, or I don't know, but you want to think, you don't want to be contributing to the next mess, right?
No, and totally. So, I mean, we're even looking at things like, okay, well, how do we work in, let's say it's sealing the box with some kind of like authenticity label, or some type of like, that's where the control number is, or just trying
like an old-fashioned seal. Remember the old-fashioned seal?
Totally.
Sort of that concept, right? It's trying to.
I've seen them on some wine bottles.
Yeah, and once they're open, it's pretty tough to say. I'm sure I did. I'm sure it was open at the store. You would have noticed, buddy. You would have noticed.
You would have noticed, exactly. Yeah. So anyway,
fun and games of retail, my friend. The fun and games of retail.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? To both of you guys, I just, this is almost like a therapy session. So like, I think I may just need it to feel a little bit better.
We're glad you came on. Like,
I'm glad you come. I love you anyway, so you can come anytime you want. I don't care.
I wanted to tell you that too. I think in the time, like, I don't know. I'm not actually sure how many products have been part of a launch for. A couple of hundred. Like, I think I can think of one that it went the way I thought it would. Do you know, like,
yeah, get it.
And like, and then some of those, like your team, right? Like, just, I work with some, like, just, there were some people on some of those teams that were just like, how could anything go wrong while these people are on the watch, right? Like, they're just so talented, and yet, like, you gotta come out and going,
dude, you know what?
Oh my God, like, what the,
like honestly, on the talent bit, because I've been around this thing too, where, and I don't know if other people have experienced this or not, but staff turnover is like a thing. Like 3 years is an eternity for having somebody these days.
Yeah.
And when you look at resumes, it's like, if somebody's been at a job for 3 years, it's like, whoa, they've been there for a long time.
Yeah.
So really, on the talent part, I'm almost like, you want people who are responsible, like who'll go, you know what, I'm going to step up to the plate. I'm going to take responsibility. Like, I'm going to take ownership of this thing. And I almost want to say that trumps talent. Like, because honestly, there's so much stuff. You were talking about the launches, right? You can do everything right on your side,
right?
But so many other people need to like
do their part.
They need to just show up sometimes, and they just don't, right?
Yeah.
So,
but they don't own it either. And to your point, is that you know what? A lot of things can be taught or learned, but having. Because I agree with you 100%. Finding someone who gives a shit, and has been taught in their whole life. Listen, you make a mistake, own it.
Totally.
Right? You start something, finish it. Don't piss and moan. Don't blame the world. Just get it done. You can blame the world after, but get it done. But that those traits, they're obviously still out there. But I think that it's
they're few and far between, though.
They seem to be. And maybe because, you know what, maybe even as parents, because it's a lot of our kids and a little bit older, maybe we did a piss poor job in, you know, I mean, put it this way, if in the old days, if you came home and, you know, you told the folks, my teacher got mad at me, what's the first thing they'd say? What the hell did you do? What did you do? Do I have to phone the teacher? Because I gotta tell her right now. I'm gonna tell her to smack you in the head if you do it again. And you're thinking, okay, well, this didn't go too well for me. You know, where now you say that and the parents are down at the school and everybody's stuck to school.
Queued up a lawyer. And...
Like, who was it? You know, well, first thing we did, we got blamed. It was our fault. Obviously, we did something stupid.
My parents didn't even call the school. They were just, you know, that's it. You know,
no, you were wrong. What did you do?
Like, my parents would always go, "What did you do?
What did you do?"
They would always say this.
Well, sure.
They would be like, you know, what did
the teacher had good reason, even if they didn't like.
Yeah. No, and if the teacher really went out of line. But that was like 1 in 1,000 where a parent would actually go to school because it was probably a teacher. Yeah. Most of the other times, like the parents knew, get out of here.
Yeah.
We were kids too. I remember what you did. It was your fault. You probably said something stupid. And if you didn't, you should have shut up anyway.
To bring this kind of full circle again, like, you know, you were talking about like kind of owning up or whatever and taking responsibility as well. Like I would always tell my kids, I had this like thing that I would tell them because I would do like Fardad's fuck ups with my kids about all the stupid stuff that I'd done and how, like, you know, either lies would snowball or I would do something bad or dumb and just so that they would know, you know, everybody fucks up, everybody screws up, everybody makes mistakes. But so I would always tell them, I'd be like, own up, apologize, and then I would be like, move on, like, move on, and then learn from your mistakes, right? Like don't do it again.
Yeah, at the 10th time you've done it, there's a learning problem here. It's not no longer a mistake or an accident. Like an accident is, you know, once on a blue moon.
And I had this thing too that I was like, man, you know what? I need to talk about this to people on my team, and this is quite a while ago. And you remember Janet, Ken, probably. Janet was lovely. And so, you know, I would tell people, I was like, hey, listen, you know what, you guys, I just want to make sure everybody here feels comfortable that when you make a mistake or when there's like a big fuck up, like to quickly like own up. So, and just to say, look, this is what's kind of happened, and let's just start to deal with the cleanup kind of thing. And then so then I started with my kind of big screw up or whatever. And then somebody totally came in and was like, oh yeah, well, remember when Janet totally fucked up? And I was like, okay, you know what? You're not getting what we just talked about.
Yeah.
This isn't about going, oh, remember when the other person fucked up? It's about going, hey, I'm also fallible, right? Yeah. And it's okay, and it's gonna happen, and it happens all the time. But like, let's start to deal with the cleanup. So deal with those returns.
Yeah, the dwelling is not the part that's going to fix it. Just fix it now. We can talk about it later, right? And typically what I tell most people, just tell me one thing. Did anybody die? They just laugh. I said, then it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, we lost some pennies. As long as you don't bankrupt the company, nobody died, quite frankly, we can get through anything. Okay. Just take it easy. Just get it fixed, and then we can worry about changing the process. Maybe we're not communicating well. I don't know what it is. Like you said, like your returns or even your markdown.
Yeah.
It went sideways. Okay, learn from it. You know what? Find other people in the organization who actually do the work and get to them. Yeah. And maybe then you don't have to worry about it, because at the end of the day, you can piss and moan all you want. It ain't fixing it.
Yeah.
Fix it. No. Blame game is not fun, and it doesn't work.
No, definitely not.
Definitely doesn't work.
Anywho.
Fardad, thank you.
Always
for
a pleasure.
On.
Yeah, man. I like I said, it was great being with you guys. It was great to have this opportunity again, and hopefully we'll get to connect soon. And I'm feeling like so optimistic about like just things getting better in a way. You know, like I'm feeling like people are stoked about getting vaccinated, or most people are, and things are looking a little bit better. And
hopefully we'll get to see you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? I registered. Hopefully, I want to get my second one fast. So I did the AstraZeneca one because I was the right age, right?
Yeah,
I'm thinking, and nobody wants them, or I'm thinking, I'm just waiting for phone me.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready right now to go again. Let's go.
Yeah.
I want it done.
Like,
yeah, me too.
I want it done.
Right?
Let's get it going.
But now they might give them away instead of giving them.
They should give them away. They should give them away to me. They should phone me. I'll go down right now. I'm ready. Phone me, somebody, please.
I'm right there with you. Like we could do it together, Kenny. But
I'm happy for that. Let's go.
I know.
Let's get back outside. And Fardad, we haven't seen you in a couple of years. It'd be nice to even get a chance to see you.
I
meet
know.
the wife,
no,
meet the little one.
I know. No, you know what? We've been.
Amelia loves you. So bottom line, you got someone to admire you from all through dinner. So that'll be good.
I know. No, we've been talking about this quite a bit. We've been like imagining different stuff that we can do with things. In fact, we were just talking about the other day where we're like, okay, so I guess like if we were to have like, like some kind of a summer party, we were like going through this thing. We were like, I guess what you would buy is you would buy those pre-mixed cocktails in cans. Like people would then, have a Caesar in a can or a gin and tonic in it. And then I guess like, it would just be kind of like cans and everybody would have their cans, and then maybe you wouldn't do any food, or you wouldn't have a chip thing, or maybe you would have like separate bags of chips for people, or like we were like going through this thing about like what would a party look like in a transition where people would feel comfortable. You would also be like, oh yeah, we're being responsible, but you would kind of get to see people again and kind of start to kind of move towards something that was awesome and human and celebratory again, right?
We did so prior to us locking down here. We did something like that, but with the other family, we actually, it sounded weird in the beginning, but we actually planned like identical menus. You know what I mean? Like, so they brought all their own stuff, like they, and we did the same thing. So it was like, where are you getting cutlery? We'll get the same cutlery. So we got bamboo cutlery. We got the same like paper plates and everything. And so it was kind of like this weird world of they were there and we were here, right? Our family, their family. But then, when we said, hey, we got some salsa, you guys want some salsa? We'd both crack open the same salsa. So the kids were, the kids were like, oh, this is kind of weird, but cool. I literally we're eating the same food, just not the same food, right? So
just remember, if Amelia and I come over, I'm not bringing my own food, and I'm hugging, and I don't give a shit. So that's what we got to get back to. I'll hand sanitize all day if you want. I'll even wear a mask, but I want someone to cook for me, and I'm hugging you. That's it.
Ken, I had this thing where I was like, man, why COVID was so bad in Italy and in Iran. Is because you just can't keep us away from like hugging and kissing each other.
You want to just touch somebody. It's so hard not to shake a hand or to give someone a hug, right? It's so weird.
Oh my God.
It's weird.
How many parties have I been into where I've ended up walking people into a corner because I keep on getting closer to them, they move away from me. I keep on getting closer, they move away.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so funny. Yeah. We got to get back to some sort of normality, old school. But I think it's going to be good too, because maybe what we'll do is, maybe the parties will be smaller and they'll be a lot more intimate and a lot more people focused, as opposed to the old days where it's just, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of looking forward to it. Get Bird out again. Like just,
Yeah. No, there's
I'm looking forward to it.
I feel it. There's good things coming.
I feel it too.
It's
going to be better than before.
I'm sincerely feeling that.
Me too.
Well, so
me too.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
Good to see you guys. Thanks so much
for
this therapy session. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I can go on.
You can call us anytime. You know that it doesn't have to be on the podcast. I got a phone. I can pick up. If you call, I have to pick up because I can't tell Amelia that I didn't answer your call.
All right, good stuff. Give Amelia a big hug and a kiss.
I will do that.
Phil,
Take care, my friend.
Great night.
Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.
Phil, ciao, bud. Phil, you staying on or going?
Yeah. He's awesome.
Oh, come on. He's a fucking salt of the earth. Are you kidding me? I love Fardad. I do. He's just a good person.
That was really great. That was like...
it just shows it all. Again, it's all the things that you just need to think about before you get too deep, right? And look at that. 30 years, eh?
Yeah.
And still problems, still mistakes being made, right? Because shit happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Nothing. Nobody died.
Yeah. Nope.
Right?
Not at all.
A couple pennies that we got left behind. Well, you learn for next time, right? Good lessons though.
Yeah.
Like, in all honesty, one of the biggest lessons, like, you know, in the old building I was in, giving shit to me was just plain stupid, because the odds of me forgetting were beyond high. Like, it was, you could bank on I was going to forget or going to fuck it up because I didn't really care enough, right? Who cared? Not my return's yours. I'm gonna get my money back anyway. But if you got to like Carolyn or Jenny, like one of the girls, nothing was going to go off the rails. Nothing. Nothing. Right. Yeah. So you got to get to know those people. Get to know them.
Yeah, you gotta hear those words, but you gotta hear, oh yeah, okay, I understand. I got this, right? Like, and then you're like, okay, all right, you know, like, because it was the buyer and it's like, yeah, okay, thanks. No.
Well, the buyer said to a lot of things, didn't hear any of it.
Yeah. If you okay, thanks.
Yeah, or yeah.
You should keep going. The next question should be, wait, who's your assistant? Who's your, you know, the assistant would be really good at going, nope.
No, he didn't mean that. No, that's not how we do it. That's not even close. That's the way we did it 7 years ago.
Don't go to them. You come to me. I'll sort you out. So.
Yeah, that was our building for sure. They all knew not to. Yeah, just there's better people that could do it.
Yeah,
and do it properly once. Anyway, all good in the hood, buddy boy.
All right, man.
That's it.
That's
okay. Now, so we may chat with you tomorrow. If not, have a great long weekend.
Yeah, you too. You too.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. It'd be nice not to work.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to take a break.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend. Okay. We chat soon. Buddy. Thanks very much. Ciao.
Okay, bye.